Peace. Welcome back to Humanity Works podcast. I am your host, Jahad Masai Youssef. I was sitting back the other day. I was reading some information. I actually was working on the book, and I was listening to Quincy Jones. He song had shuffled on the play, and the name of the song was called "Everything Must Change." And I found that to be something that's very compelling because this is the one thing that I've noticed has been the one constant throughout my life is change. The other day, me and my daughter mother was having a conversation with her, and we're trying to get her to understand that there's about to be a change in her mother's life. Her mother and her soon to be in the future husband are now making life a little bit more honest, and now they're choosing to become one under the same roof. And we were explaining to her that it's going to be a new life. You're going to a new school, you're going to meet new friends and things of that nature. She became a little upset, a little disturbed. She was like, well, what about my old friends and a new school, and will they be nice to me? Will I have fun? Will I like the new teacher? And I can understand that as a child, because change can be sometimes something that's very scary, something that's very uncertain, something that's very doubtful, especially as adults when we have responsibilities and bills that we have to deal with. Sometimes change can be a very challenging idea, or people in places that we always constantly frequent. But I had been through this situation years prior with her brother, my youngest boy, when I wanted to transfer him out of a particular school district here in Georgia to another area that I thought was more prominent, more benefiting to him. And upon our visit, upon the school's arrival, we kind of met some of the teachers, met the principal, met the coach that he would be playing for. And I was geeked. I was excited for him because my son was going through a little bit of the politics. He is an athlete, and I just thought, I will make a better move because I think that highly of my son because he thinks that highly of himself. And on the way back home, we were riding down I-20, and I'm just explaining to him how this is going to be a good move. I'm excited for him, and I'm happy. And I looked over and the dude was asleep. I about lost my rockers. And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get this kid to a new reality. But he was so loyal. He did not want to leave his old friends. He did not want to leave his old stomping grounds. This is everything that he had built. This was the first place he moved to that we lived in when he first moved to Georgia. So this was like his first familiarity. And people like to feel comfortable. They like a homely situation. And one that they're familiar with. It's just like that old show Cheers. You want to go where everybody knows your name. So eventually when we did make the move, he wasn't really sold on the move until after he played his first game. And he was so excited. He kept his uniform on the whole night in the front room, just talking about how much he loved his new school, how much he liked where we were now at currently. And I can speak this for many of us as a people in general. Every time that I had to go through a change, because I'm a person, I'm a Scorpio, and shout out to all the Scorpios. I want to give a special shout out to my brother, Jerry L. Green. Brother, I did not know you was a Scorpio. Happy belated birthday. I missed you a couple of days ago, but please forgive me. So shout out to all the Scorpios, my brother, Jerry L. Green, and everybody who's celebrating a birthday in the month of October. Scorpios, we are the best. But the one thing about Scorpios, we are people who like stability. We like structure. We like a commonality that we become familiar with. We don't like loss. And the one thing about me, when I've ever been in a good situation, whether it's a job situation, sometimes even a romantic situation, it's just something that I hope would last forever, but typically it does not. Or, you get into a particular area of your life where it's the best it's ever been, but it doesn't always last. I'm not the same person that I was 20 years ago. When I was a kid, I don't have the same friends. I don't have the same values, interests, and principles. And I've constantly made changes, even though change at times is very much so a struggle with me. But through my experiences, my ups and downs, my revelations, I learn from people. People show me a lot about themselves and how they move and how they think and how they act. I learn from other people's situations. I've learned from experience that I've went through that were unexpected, like a health scare that happened a couple of years ago. And change has always come about. This is the one thing that's going to be constant throughout the rest of your life. And a lot of times we're sitting in places, we're around people, and we're involved in situations that we know the time has ran its course and it's time to make that change. And it's so easy to stay in that one space of familiarity, just knowing it's just common. It's like clockwork. It's common as going over your auntie's house and you're going to be embraced and loved. And, auntie tell you to go in the refrigerator and, get whatever you want and enjoy yourself, whatever. I made a bed if you want to spend the night. But there comes a time where you're going to walk through doors where it's not going to be family. It's not going to be a comfortable situation, where it'll be quite challenging. But at the end of change, there's always a positive. There's always a positive at the end of change. A lot of times we don't see it. Even as an adult, there's a lot of times I've been challenged to do things. I just said, I don't want to do this. I'm comfortable doing this. I don't want to do that. I'm in a good space. But sometimes in life, man, God will put you in a situation where you have no choice but to make that change. And a lot of times when we make that change, we look at it as one of the best moves, one of the best decisions that we have ever made. Change is going to be something that's constant throughout the rest of your life. Listening to the lyrics of that song, the one thing that Quincy Jones, I don't know who the vocalist was actually in that song, but the one thing he talked about is that the young become the old. Mysteries eventually unfold. And I found this to be true. My father used to always talk about when we were kids, man, how when the elderly wipe off the scene, begin to leave the scene, that we would be next up in line and we have to take on the responsibilities and the things that they've done over the years. And I've literally seen this, been witnessing this happening over the last 5 or 6 years. Sometimes pain is a painful thing when it comes to change. Just talk to anybody that's ever lost a mother. They change. They're not the same. Talk to somebody that's been traumatized by something that they didn't see coming in their lifetime. None of us really want to deal with anything that's challenging or harsh in life, but we all been through some things in our lives where you'll tell an average individual, I'm not the same. Just within the last 4 or 5 years, I am not the same. I was born and raised in the Baptist church, but as I evolved as a thinker and one who asked questions, I eventually fell off into the conscious community. I was around the 5%ers. I was around the Hebrew Israelites, the Nuwabians, the Sunni Muslims, you name it. Even visited Dr. York's compound in Eatonton, Georgia. I've been around these groups. I've been in these lanes of thoughts and knowledge. And never would I think that I would have left that space, but I left that space. I had to make a change. I don't even go nowhere around it or near it, but there are a lot of brothers and sisters who are righteous and had it. They had the culture right and exact. I'm still in contact with them to this very day. Or even when it comes to coaching. Years ago, I was really bright and excited about coaching, gaining my experience like everybody else. But as I've gotten older over the years and all the time that I put in, I am not the same as a coach. I look at things completely different. I look at athletes different. I look at the parents different. I look at the game different. Sometimes I have to look at myself as different. And even with family members, when we were kids, we loved and we played with each other. Always wanted to spend the night over each other's house. We'd fight each other, then fight with each other. Take walks down to the candy store, excited to see each other at family reunions. But as time goes on, it all changes. Our kids begin to take on those roles. And a lot of times the relationships that you had as a child, they don't always last. They change. The relationships that you might have developed in college, on the job, or in a sports situation, or a club, a motorcycle bike club, things do change, right? But the one thing that should remain the same is your integrity, being truthful, correct, and honest with all people. Sometimes even when you make change, you go back and you cross over those old railroad tracks. When I go home to my hometown, St. Louis, nothing looks the same anymore. It has all changed. Even here in Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta, there's certain areas I haven't graced and been through just within a few months. It has changed. And this is the one thing that's constant. Question is, can you embrace the change? Will you make a change? If you just sit and think, and that's another thing that I do daily. I just sit and think and I meditate. When I tell you I practice Dokoro to the third power, which is the law. Dokoro is a practice of loneliness and detachment. I'm not one of these people who I don't feel lonely being alone. I love being alone, and I'm careful about the energies that I entertain. But just recently, just meditating and practicing things, I'm steady making changes. I've made changes in many places. I've closed many doors that will never be opened again, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But then when we also talk about change, one of the most terrifying changes is the ones you have to make within yourself. Mentally, spiritually, physically. You need to eat better. The doctor then already gave you a report. but you just love that rib tip sandwich so much. But it's time to make that change. You understand? Or the last time you went and hung out with your friends and you wasn't invited, you just happened to step out and seen the old crew. They were out chilling, grabbing a few drinks, watching the game, and you notice the conversation is a little different. You know that you evolved a little bit. And then it becomes a space where that once used to be colorful, now looks great to you because it's time for you to make that change. And also, when you make a change, you're not necessarily abandoning people in your lives that you love. You're not necessarily abandoning things that are necessarily good and or bad. But nothing stays the same forever. And we don't live forever in the physical form. That change is coming. I encourage you, whatever change you have to make in your life, make those changes. You have changes that you have to make by your own decisions, and you have changes that are going to come unexpectedly. How will you embrace it when it shows up? Whether it's something positive or whether it's something negative. Just know that nothing remains the same forever. When you look at those children, it just seems like yesterday they was crawling around on the floor in the soil pamper, running up to you, teething, wanting some of your food, even though they didn't have no teeth. Now you stand up and look at them nowadays. They got kids of their own. They grown with their own family because change has come. Man, I'm telling you, man, with everything that's been going on in life, I mean, it's like the weirdest time ever. You have really better embrace and love on your loved ones because change is going to always come. You know, your child may get a job somewhere in California and you live in New Jersey. That's a separation. You may not see them as often anymore. You may not see them as regular, but change brings about life. What they say, life is lifing. Life will take us in different directions. Life will have us around different people and places. Life will put us in different situations, right? Change. Everything must change, and everything is going to change. I've changed. I'm a changed man. And guess what? At 51, I'm not the same person that I was years ago. But by 60, 62, 63, 64, 65, I'm going to be a changed man once again. My situations may be changed. My career may be changed. The people in my life may be changed. But one thing that I'm going to constantly do that will never change is my core character and the person that I try to be and I work on every day to be the best individual that I can be towards everyone. I don't have the best relationships with everybody. And sometimes I may make bad decisions myself in the way I go about dealing with my personal inner spaces. But again, that's a change that I'm going to make within myself. So make those changes. It's a beautiful thing. Life is beautiful. Just imagine a boring, it would be a very boring life if everything was still the same as it is today, 20 years ago. You ain't driving the same car. You may not even be living in the same house. You may not even be married to the same person. Some of y'all women making changes on your body, putting booties and everything. Let me stop. Some of y'all men ain't no different. Y'all getting hair implants and all. Let me stop, man. I'm just being a jerk. But anyway, this is the place where we bring it sexy back to the everyday hardworking man, the women who impact your life within close proximity. We want to rise above this madness, which is called Black culture. I want to give a shout out to Gorilla Republic. I enjoyed myself the other night. Shout out to Rob Love and the missus and his beautiful daughter and his family and everybody that came out to Gorilla's Glow in the Dark. It's something that he's bringing back here in Atlanta. I enjoyed myself. DJ Low Key, you know you did your thing. Oh yeah, man. And I bought that ammo shirt, man. I got an extra large, man. Now even that, either that shirt is a regular, it's a large, or your boy getting big. I'm trying to lose weight. At least I thought I was trying to lose weight, but it seems like I'm just gaining weight. I don't know. Fat Boy Dirty Red used to be my old handle, man. But man, I want everybody, man, just to continue to embrace, continue to grow, and make the changes that you need to make. Make the necessary changes and understand how to embrace the change, because change is going to come and everything must change. Everything must change, and it's not a bad thing. The biggest mistake that you can make in life, and I'm always say this, and I'm going to ride this out, and I suggest you take this advice for yourself. The biggest mistake that you could ever make in life is to think that you have time. I value you enough to love you all the correct way. Till next time, peace.
Equality versus equity. Equality means every child gets a pair of shoes. Equity means every child gets a pair of shoes that fit. That means every school district has to meet every student's individual needs.
I'm Jerry O'Green with the Black Student Advocate. We advocate for black employees and black students within the K-12 school districts. We hold school districts accountable to make sure that black students and employees are in a fair and equitable workplace.